Welcome to the big kick-off League of Ireland Sports Bar. I'm Roy Shanahan. Obviously, Nathan Doyle. If you can read, you can see that. That's great. Whole load of games. The first division, Nathan, have thrown up a whole load of results that are indifferent every other week now, except for Athlone, except you're Athlone, and a couple of games in the Premier Division as well. Just for anyone out there, if you want to see a lot more of our stuff, which we will have plenty of coming up, and a whole load of ideas that's coming out, press that subscribe button. You want to leave a comment, do that as well, and smash that like button as well. Okay, Nathan, we'll go firstly. I think we'll start with the first division because the results in the first division have just been, well, they've been up and down and all over the place. You can't really see, and apart from Athlone now, who are starting to get into a rhythm, the others are the results have been all over the place.
Yeah, it's been a bit hectic at the moment, you know. It's been great though, you know. Like a lot of people have been predicting the first division to be wide open, and already in the early days, it's really setting up like that, isn't it? Again, this week we have Galway dropping points. Bray just haven't got started at all whatsoever. My adoptive boy is Athlone top of the table. Stop the count, actually. Athlone top of the table, Pat's top of the table. It's a good time to be a Nathan Doyle. So it's setting up well. Cork City again drop points this week, and Shelbourne finally starting to get into a decent rhythm. While they have done well results wise, none of their strikers have got off the mark until today. Yo Maddie popping up with a late goal. So for Shelbourne fans looking ill, they'd be happy to see one of the strikers getting off the mark. But yeah, look, overall the first division is setting up to be an absolute belter this season.
Yeah, Athlone won, as you've said, but Bray haven't made the start that they wanted to make.
Not at all, no. A lot of people, ourselves included, would have had them up there and thereabouts this season. And while look, the caveat is always going to be it's early days, but these results do catch up on you, you know, like, and I think it can be a little bit of a cop out sometimes, saying, no, it's only early. But if you get off to a good start, you know, all of a sudden you're not playing catch up, where Bray, in a way, already find themselves in that position where you have sides like Shelbourne are going to, you know, keep picking up points and picking up points. So it has been really disappointing. Now, I know a lot of the results have been draws, but this is a fairly bad defeat for them here today. You know, Athlone was some sort of a dark horse, really. Wanted this season, you know, somewhat of a unknown quantity with a lot of chopping and changing, but they've got off to a terrific start of the season. So they're already looking like they're going to be up there this season. So for Bray to be dropping points against a side like Athlone, yeah, it's a poor result.
What about Treaty United? They've got another point, but again, on the other hand, they've drawn against Galway, who seem to be struggling this year. It doesn't seem to be clicking. The minute John Caulfield came in, everything changed, and now they just haven't made a good start at all. In saying that, it's just because they haven't been getting the wins; they've been getting draws.
Yeah, it's been a strange one, hasn't it? Like, a lot of us, again, ourselves included, were really tipping Galway. You know, we thought the John Caulfield effect came into effect straight away last season, and we thought he would have picked up where we left off the head of this year. You know, he brought a lot of lads in, and he seemed to be really putting his stamp on the squad this season, and we thought that would have been shown with them hitting the ground running, you know. But as you said, a lot of draws he picked up. They were well beaten by Athlone again. Athlone picking up points early on the season against a side like Galway that was expecting to be up there. But in fairness to Treaty United, you know, they're showing they're not just here to win football back, to win League of Ireland football back to Limerick. They're here to make a good go of it, and that's a decent squad there again. And in fairness to them, I think this is the first game they haven't got a man sent off, so that's a great milestone. But then to achieve within the past couple of weeks, they've been putting themselves down to 10 men. So yeah, look, they haven't made hard work of it. They kept 11 men on the pitch, and yeah, in fairness to them, it's a good start, really good start, and a point away to Galway, so that's absolutely brilliant for them.
What about Shelbourne and Cork? Cork City, again, it looks to me at this stage, obviously it's very easy to say if you're not winning all your games, but Cork just don't seem to have that team that's going to push on this year. I might be wrong, it's a long season ahead, but the results, the way they're going at the moment, don't prove that.
Yeah, I thought they might have struggled a little bit. You know, you're seeing some people saying that they probably could jump straight back up to the Premier Division. I didn't really think that was ever going to be the case, to be honest. It was always going to be maybe a 2-year plan under the new manager, the new regime there. You know, they were going to bring a couple of younger lads into the squad, and that's going to take time, isn't it? Now, in fairness, they had the likes of Dylan McGlade Corey Galvin is there, King Coleman. So they do have some decent players that know the league, but it's going to take them a little bit of time for these young lads to come in and to really adapt to the step up in the standard. But yeah, look, Shelbourne fans be delighted, I think, won't they? If again, like we said, we're looking at Bray and Galway dropping points, and they're still picking up points, you know. And like I said, they were probably a little bit apprehensive looking at the strikers not really getting into the flying form at the moment. But Yo Maddie, like I said earlier, late goal, he's off the mark now. They're still waiting on the likes of Michael O'Connor and Glenn McCauley to pick up their first goal. But yeah, Shelbourne fans will be delighted. 3-1 win away from home, and Yo Maddie off the mark. So yeah, they'd be absolutely delighted.
What about Wexford? Are going to struggle this year. Like they have struggled for the last few years. It's hard, isn't it? Like if you're bottom of the Premier Division, you can always drop down to the First Division and say, listen, we're going to rebuild. We're going to build on again for next year. Maybe we'll get up, maybe we won't, but we'll try and build on. When you're bottom of the First Division, you're not claiming any points. You're not looking like you're going to claim points. Where do you go?
Yeah, and it's quite disheartening for that Wexford side. You know, it's full of a lot of younger players as well that, you know, they're only sort of finding their feet and they're trying to get used to the standard, you know, and if they're going out week in, week out and getting beaten, I'm sure it's very disheartening. And while there is one or two more senior players there, that's going to be a massive job for them to rally the troops and to pick them lads up, it's going to be really disheartening, you know. And in fairness to them, I thought they could have maybe got something out of here, coped themselves. This is their first win of the season. They haven't got off to the best start by any stretch of the imagination. But even looking at Wexford just for the next couple of weeks, they're playing Athlone, UCD, Cork, Galway and Bray. Like, already by looking at that, there's nowhere.
I don't think it matters who they play. They're all above them, so they're going to struggle, aren't they?
Yeah, but I think if they were to come up against, I know they already played Cabinteely, but if they were come up against like a Cabinteely or maybe even a Treaty, they'd fancy maybe scrapping even a point over. But a lot of them sides are expected to be there in their bounce in terms of challenging for the league and challenging for the playoffs. So yeah, look, it's going to be pretty difficult. I suppose if you're looking at a Wexford point of view, Kyle Robinson, young striker, got off the mark this evening on loan from St. Pat's. So it might be clutching at straws a little bit, but yeah, if there's going to be one positive aspect for Wexford fans, I think that might be it.
The positives, though, if you look at Treaty United, as it said, they're still unbeaten, very solid to the club's history. They're after coming in, they're after claiming points left, right, and centre, where Wexford have been there the last few seasons and haven't been able to build on it. So, like, what's the difference? Treaty do have good leagues, I suppose, around them, the amateur leagues around them. Wexford don't have that.
Yeah, I think if you look at the Munster Senior, it probably has a big stand-up. It depends what the financial backing too. I think we were talking to Harry Kenny that time, and he was saying that the budget down at Wexford is bare bounce. But I suppose you're looking at that, the squad-wise, you really have to commend what Treaty United have done in such a short amount of time in the off-season, in the players that they did bring in. Like, I think we were expecting, and I know there is a lot of Munster Senior players in that squad, but there is the likes of Ludden and Fleming and Constraints that have played in the League of Ireland for the past number of years. So for them to attract them sort of players in, it really is credit where it's due for Treaty. And like Rob said, like still unbeaten. And this is a side that myself personally, I thought probably other people wouldn't agree. I thought he would have struggled. I really did. I thought he would have been just happy to be back this season and then build on from there. But they do look like they're going to be a tough team for everybody to play. Somewhat where, like, that's what Cove Ramblers were last season, I felt, were a little bit of a gateway side into the playoffs, you know. Like, they were going to be different. They probably weren't going to really be there themselves, although Cove were unlucky last season. But I think Treaty will be like that this year. They're going to be difficult to play against, while they might not be in the upper echelons of the table. They're not going to be a rollover by any stretch of the imagination.
UCD, always a solid side. 4-1 looks like a hammering. We don't know what way that game was. We didn't see the game, but 4-1 looks like a hammering. Cabinteely, again, and we wanted to talk about this, that with Galway United last week, losing out on 3 points, the whole COVID thing. What did you make of that?
Yeah, when I first seen them, my initial thought was, well, surely that's a walkout for Galway. You know, they travelled up to Dublin just to be told that the game was postponed down to a positive COVID case within the Cabinteely camp. And in fairness to the FAI, you'd never actually really hear me saying that there, in fairness to the FAI, but they did come out early on the season and they told teams that in the event of a positive case, they had to fulfill the fixture. You need, I think it was I have it here actually, that Mark Scanlon even pointed out that you need 14 players. Once you have 14 fit players in your squad, the game has to go ahead. So surely, Kevin Healy came out and said that he couldn't fill the team, but surely they could be looking down at the underage system to be bringing these things up. So yeah, I thought it was pretty much a no-brainer that Galway were definitely going to be handled.
Nathan, is losing 3 points enough? Because what in turn that does is it just hands 3 points to Galway United, and other clubs like Bray, Shelbourne, Athlone, they're not going to get easy 3 points like that off them. So, should there be fines even for this and to deter the clubs? Because the 3 points, it doesn't seem fair when you look at the other clubs.
Do you know what? And I'm actually glad you did mention that, Roy, because while I was having a little look at that, I came across something that Shelbourne manager Ian Morris, he said something in that similar vein, saying that it's sort of here it is here actually. It gives title rivals a leg up. He believes that it's an absolute mockery of the league, and he thinks that he went on to say that we have, as the other teams, 19 players registered for this sort of incident. So he feels like it shouldn't be happening, and possibly harsher punishments, like you said, should be given out, because it can be a bit of a leg up, and like you said, it is already an easy 3 points for Galway to be getting. Overall, I think it's just a bit of an unnecessary situation, and it's a situation that Kevin Healy just shouldn't have found himself in. There's no reason. There's no reason why they shouldn't be able to field the team. Exactly.
I have to say, sorry, Nathan, I'm cutting across you, but I have to say that's just, it's totally amateurish. Yeah, the way they've approached it. They should have procedures. They should have players ready. Should they have under 19s and younger players, but they still have a squad. They should have those procedures in place.
It does, and I was actually even looking at some of the fan reaction from it too, and a lot of people about the Ian Morris comments, going back to that for a second, were giving out, more so thinking it was sour grapes on the end of Ian, but what do you want to do? I think it did make the league look a little bit under par, to be honest. I think it's a situation that could have been completely avoided, of having a side like Galway making the expense of travelling down to Dublin just to be told on arrival that the game wasn't going to go ahead. These are things that should have been sorted out, not only before Galway left, but even the day before. So the last thing we want to be doing is coming to a situation like we did last season, with games getting cancelled last minute. And that's why the FAI have came in and said that you need to fulfill, you have an obligation to fulfill your fixtures no matter what. So this is something that just needs to be avoided outright, and it just shouldn't be going on. And yeah, I think harsher punishment should definitely be coming in.
Okay, so we have the first division done. We've had a couple of games in the Premier Division. 2 games, not exactly 10 out of 10 for entertainment value. We'll go to the one that was probably the best of the 2, which is Derry City and Drogheda United. 1-1. What did you make of the game? What did you make of Derry? Because Derry, we've talked about Drogheda before, but Derry, we were, I suppose, even with the thumbnail that we put up for this, we had Declan Devine on it, and he's looking to get some sort of points on the board. Is this a good point for them? Is this somewhere to take a step forward, or do you see something else in them that they should be doing better?
Do you know what? I think going off this 90 minutes, and while that might sound strange for a side that was bottom of the table with no points, I think they'd be disappointed. I think that, especially in the second half, they done most of the pressing in the second half. They pretty much left Drogheda down to the set pieces. Now, even by saying that, Drogheda probably had the best chance in the second half with the James Brown chance to make it 2-0 at the time, which would have been absolutely massive. But yeah, I think they will be. I think they'll be a little bit disappointed. They look positive. I thought Fitzgerald and Will Patchen for Derry City were absolutely brilliant, and great creative spark, and anything good that came out of Derry pretty much came out of them 2 guys. I think going forward isn't much of an issue. They might still be lacking someone up top. I think Akintunde, it's safe to put him into the category of more of a busy player than anything else. Like there's a lot of huffing and puffing, but not really a lot of end product. Where I think Derry were really struggling, and where I think they did struggle tonight, was defensively. I think they're really naive at the back. I think they're badly missing a good hole in midfielder, which they had a couple of them last year. While it might be a little bit harsh to say, and some of the younger lads, it's going to take them a good while, and you could see they're just not quite there at the moment. And even there were a couple of chances where Drogheda looked pretty good up top. I thought Chris Lyons was a bit of a nuisance for the two centre halves. James Brown, I think I talked about James Brown every week on this show. I think he's absolutely fantastic. Gets up that right hand side like it's nobody's business. Genuinely one of the best fullbacks within the league, in my opinion, already. So they did cause issue Drogheda going forward, but Derry City flooded the box with defenders, but nobody's willing to go and engage and close anybody down. There was a lot of just statuette defending, a lot of people standing around. So I think that's the naivety I'm talking about at Derry City at the back. I think there's just a lot of standing and watching what's going on, and the middle of the park is really weak too. I think we've seen again, Darren Markey had a decent game. I thought he got through the midfield pretty easy. So I think that'll be the big concern for Derry City this season. And yeah, I think they will be ultimately disappointed with a draw, even though it does get them off the mark. But there was definitely, even before the start of the season, they would have looked at that game. We dropped it at home. We should be getting 3 points over.
Yeah. Watching the game, I thought Derry City, their shape was good. I thought they passed the ball around very well, kept possession well. They were threatening us as again, impressed with Fitzgerald for Derry, looking confident on the ball and very direct. I thought he was excellent. I thought he ran at them all the time. He was a danger. Fullbacks don't like wingers that go at them and run at them, and he did run out of steam, I thought, as the game went on. I thought in the first half he was really, really good. Second half, I think he just ran out a bit of steam. There wasn't the delivery there, but he definitely looks like a good player. When we talk about Darren Markey, you talk about James Brown, and you talk about himself. There is good young players in the league who are shining through. I suppose the real thing that a lot of them are missing is that end product, a good shot off, a good cross. So they're the only things. But from what I see of Derry, there's definitely things there to work with. It's just about fine tuning. Yes, they might concede goals, but I think there is some goals in them. I have a feeling, looking at Derry and looking at Waterford, I just see, and I know Derry are below them at the moment, I just see a little bit more in Derry than I do in Waterford. I still think they have it. I'm not certain that they're going to be relegated the way they've started, but I do think that they're going to struggle.
Now, the funny thing is, I go with the opposite. By looking at the two games, I look at Waterford and I think there's more to work with there. In terms of Waterford, and I know Fitzgerald and Patchen done well today, but when I look at Waterford, I look at guys that can genuinely just grab a game with a scruff of the neck and pull something out of it. Like a guy we've talked about, Maskell, his delivery in. I thought O'Reilly today for Waterford was absolutely brilliant, and he looked like a genuine creative spark if he can keep that going. Waite, he was quiet enough today, but again, another lad that has a bit of quality about him. If they can get someone like Prince or Keane Kavanagh banning in goals on a little bit of a consistent basis, I think Waterford have a little bit of more of a chance in Derry would. Where, like I said, look at Akatunde, seeing a bit of him last year, he will pop up a goal or two, but he's more busy. And I think Derry City are really looking at David Parkhouse as the main man, and he really needs to get off the mark to give Derry a decent chance of getting away from the relegation zone.
Yeah. What about Bows today against Waterford? Obviously, you've just hinted at Waterford somewhat giving you hope for them, but what about Bows? It wasn't a great game. There wasn't a lot going on in the game. I suppose Bows, for me, edged it, obviously with the goal, but just even on the ball possession, I thought they were a little bit better. But I didn't think there was much between them, and it wasn't a great watch.
No, this is the sort of games that make your job a little bit difficult, don't they? We have to come on and analyse them and break them down. But yeah, it was a bit of a slog to watch. I actually enjoyed the later game. I thought it was pretty good to watch. It was good tempo to it, good intensity, which wasn't really here. I didn't really see it here. If I'm looking at positives, like you say, from a Bowes point of view, I thought Keith Ward was really good. He was taken off a little bit too early, in my opinion. I thought he was very willing to get on the ball. Him and Tyreek Wilson linked up well a couple of times. I think that's one of the positives. If I'm looking at from a Bowes point of view, in fairness to Waterford, they came out in the first 5 minutes mainly, which he had a good short spell hitting the ground running. But in the second half, in probably the first 15-20 minutes in the second half, they were probably the better side, and they done a lot of pressing. But it goes back to what we're saying a lot about a lot of sides. The end product just simply wasn't there at all. Any time they didn't really test James Talbot whatsoever. And while they did have Bowes on the ropes a little bit, Bowes seemed happy enough to just sit back and they were sort of content with that. Where Waterford never really looked too dangerous, and there was even no real clear-cut chances to speak of, really, was there?
No.
I think there was a little bit of one. I think Ferguson, the Waterford defender, had a bit of a chance at the start of the first half, and that's the only really one that stands out for me. But yeah, look, like I said, I think Waterford, they have a little bit there. They have a little bit about them that if they can just get it clicking, they might be okay. But they will be there in thereabouts down the lower end of the table this season by looking at
what
their
did you make the goal?
I thought it was initially I thought it was a cracking save by the keeper Martin, who, by the way, had an absolute brilliant game. He was called upon very well. I thought that Bowes would have really tested him, with Brian Murphy out of the team. He's a massive loss to anybody. But in fairness to the other lad, Martin, and the time he was called upon, he done well. So yeah, initially I thought it was a great save from the free kick. But then I look back, I think of one of the clips on Twitter or something, I ended up looking back. Am I being a bit too harsh saying that maybe he could have pushed it a bit more around and took it out for a corner? I don't know. I think I might be a bit harsh.
Maybe it went over the wall, didn't it?
It was a great strike in fairness, and if that was to nestle in the goal, you wouldn't have blamed the keeper. Yeah, by looking at it, he might have got a stronger wrist in it. But yeah, look, part-time football, a full-time model. Rob Cornwall there to pick up the pieces. So yeah, it was a decent goal. The free kick itself would have been an absolute cracker. But yeah, probably been a bit harsh on the young lad Martin, but maybe could have pushed it out for a corner.
Yeah. What do you think Bowes can do? We're after seeing them a few times now.
Yeah.
What do you think they can do this year? Do you think there's something that they can kick on from, or is it going to be a bit of a slog this year?
It's the makings of a decent squad. I'm looking at my second place prediction for them. I think I might be a bit off at that one. I think that maybe Europe, push for Europe possibly. They really are. Already you can see they're missing the likes of Danny Grant, and they're going to be missing goals this season. I thought Georgie Kelly played pretty well against Dundalk. I thought tonight he was absolutely abysmal. He didn't do anything at all. He was non-existent pretty much. And what I do like Georgie Kelly, I've seen him doing that at Pats when he was on loan that time. And I thought when he was seeing him, he had a couple of decent performances this season. Again, like I said, the Dundalk one, I thought maybe the Pats style or something didn't suit him, but again, he just went missing for big lads, this something that shouldn't be happening even when he is having a quiet game. He should be influencing the game in terms of getting the ball back to the defence and linking up the play like he did against Dundalk. He brought in the likes of Ross Tierney. Again, Tierney was very quiet today. And I think he might have been missing having that link-up play with Kelly. So while there is some decent players, there's some really good players actually, I might say, and a very good squad. There's some good lads on the bench still to come on. Like they've been the likes of Dawson Devoyan, who was one of the best young players in the league. I think that they might just be off the pace a little bit. Again, like a lot of people, are just really missing a goal scorer. So probably looking at their really performance at European football might be the show.
Yeah. When you look at the league tables, we go with the first division. Athlone are top with 10 points. UCD 8, Shelbourne 8, Treaty 6, and Cabinteely 6. It's going to be, when we get into the last 5 games, you could look at the same as last year, about 5 or 6 teams going for those top playoff positions. So I think it's going to be quite tight there. Yeah. You look at the Premier Division, Derry City rock bottom with a point with Dundalk, Waterford with 3 points, Longford 4. But St. Pat's 10 and Finn Harps 10. No one's expecting Finn Harps to stay up there. I hope they prove everyone wrong. I hope they have an absolutely fabulous season. But St. Pat's, again, because you're a St. Pat's man, you're not wearing the jersey tonight because you're wearing the jersey at the moment, the head in the game, which is sold out. Unbelievably, it's sold out, which is fantastic. So they will come around again. So just make sure that if you're out there that you get it in again the next time. But what do you reckon, Pats? Will they push it now? Because you're kind of hinting at Bowes maybe getting a European spot. When I look at Bowes and I look at Pats, 2 different teams for me. If you're hinting at Bowes getting a European spot, you must be nailing Pats down for a European spot as well.
Yeah, I think they will be up there. I do. They've impressed me so far. They really have, and it's a lot of stuff that I'd already said. It's things I haven't seen in the past couple of years, like the fitness, like just the general composure and the general shape of the team, and it's good to see just a bit of discipline back in the side. That's the word I was looking for. And another thing, the recruitment has been much better. You know, the lads that he brought in seem to be good players, but they seem to be good personalities. You know, and that's what you need. You know, we're a thin squad this season, so the last thing you need when the squad is down to not down to its bare bones, but there's not many. It isn't a beefy squad, you know. So you don't need infighting starting already, and especially when you have young lads in and around the squad, you need good personalities, you know, to sort of take them under the wing a little bit and just show them the ropes. And I think that's one thing that Pats definitely have this season. And yeah, look, massive game tomorrow, absolutely massive game against Dundalk. I'd still probably take a draw. It feels like, you know, going to Oriel Park is always a difficult task to do, but if you're looking at the start of the seasons, there's no reason why this Pats side should be feared and going to Dundalk at all. You know, they're really, really lacking a lot. If you look at their goalkeeping situation, we've talked about they're lacking a creative spark in the midfield. They're very light up top. So while there's still quality in that Dundalk side, and nobody can dispute that. And they more than likely still will be up in the top end of the table come the end of the season. Just looking at current form, there is no reason why I don't think Pats can go out and at least get a draw in this one tomorrow.
Well, there's no reason why Dundalk should go out and get a win, because they haven't proven that they're capable of getting that win against the Pats side, who have proven that they can go on and win these games. So Dundalk have a lot to do. Rovers will be playing Longford. Sligo are playing Finn Harps. They're all intriguing games. Sligo and Finn Harps, you would have kind of thought, well, you wouldn't have had the interest only for Finn Harps. Made a great start to the season, and now all of a sudden you're nearly talking top of the table with Sligo doing so well as well. What would you reckon on that one?
Yeah, it's a toughie, isn't it? Like on paper, again, probably looking at the start of the season before things got kicked off, you would have thought maybe it would have been a good 3 points, a good with 3 points of Sligo Rovers. But as the weeks go on, I'm finding it harder and harder to bet against Finn Harps. You know, like they're the one side that maybe. Well, it's probably if you're not a Derry City fan, but most of the league, you know, they have a little, even if it's a little bit of a soft spot, even if it's not for Finn Harps, it's for Ollie himself, you know. And in the sort of, like you've said it already, we'd like to see them do well this season, and we'd like to see them get away from that relegation battle. And I think again, it'd be another big statement if they go out and get something here against Sligo Rovers. And while Sligo have got off to a good start of the season, they were poor against Longford. They were okay against Shamrock Rovers, and against Waterford in the first half. They underwhelmed. So while it has been results-wise, it's been brilliant. Even Liam Buckley himself has touched on the fact that they can do better. This isn't a Sligo Rover side that are going to go out and turn over Finn Harps by any stretch of the imagination, and I really wouldn't be surprised if Finn Harps at least get a draw out of it.
Yeah, 100%. Now, there's talk about all sorts of sports bringing fans back into the game. There's talk about the rugby here in Ireland bringing the fans back in the game. So what's the talk around League of Ireland?
Yeah, that's the only sport we care about, isn't it? We don't really have much of an interest in what's going on with rugby, especially the GAA. We seem to have a bit of an agenda. Some people are saying against it. But look, I was came across an article on the Irish Examiner, and they were saying that the hopes are rising. So, it's a positive sign. Hopes are rising for if fans to be returning, with 2 fixtures specifically in mind. So the 2 fixtures are St. Patrick against Shamrock Rovers on the 7th of May and Dundalk against Shamrock Rovers on the 21st of May. Now, these games will be looked at as sort of a trial run. So the FAI are looking at initiatives to accelerate the returns of fans, and they want to test out some of these initiatives in the 2 fixtures that I mentioned above. So, yeah, if all goes to plan, and who knows with the government, that everything that's going on, it's so stop-start, you know, we're hearing different things on a daily basis. But if we can just take it on face value, we could have fans back as early as May for these trial runs. Now, in the League of Ireland venues, we'll be looking at just over 10%, probably 10-11%, which comes around to about 500 spectators, all going well. So, yeah, look, once the FAI are proven that they can safely manage the returns of crowds, hopefully we'll be having crowds back by the summer.
And I don't see why they wouldn't nearly immediately give them that right to do it, because when we had it back in the autumn, they did it very well. It was very well organised. There was no complaints at all whatsoever about the League of Ireland. So if they can just roll out the exact same thing that they rolled out beforehand, there shouldn't be any problems.
Look, and I'm lucky enough, I said it a few times, that I'm a volunteer myself down at St. Pat's to do the match day programs, and I was lucky enough to get into a couple of games to help out as the oldest ball boy in the world last season. And I have to say, and I'm not just saying it because I'm a League of Ireland fan, I felt completely safe. I really did. There's temperature checks as soon as you walk in, plenty of facilities for hand washing and hand sanitization. Everybody was well spread out. There was no forced, nobody's forced to come together and have a chat. We even had a couple of little team meetings, before the game, and you were told where to go and what to do. Everybody's well spaced out. There was no pressure, no issues whatsoever. So, talking as somebody that's been very fortunate enough to get into a couple of games last season, there was absolutely zero complaints, not only by me, but by anybody I've talked to that have been in a similar situation. And like I said, there's no reason why it can't be done. And it really is. You'd like to see it. You really would, and not even from a financial aspect, just to get the fans back, and everybody has said, even players have come out and said that the difference that you make is massive, and it really can't be told. And we just need to get people back out and back socialising and just getting back to what the league is all about, because it is. We've said it loads of times, but that's what the league is. It's a social aspect for a lot of people, and it's where people make great relationships and keep great relationships, and why we're not expecting it to come by June. We're not all going to be back, in a packed house, going to the pub afterwards. That's not what's going to happen here. But it's just to get people back down to some sort of normality, and there's no reason why it shouldn't be done. No reason why it can't be done either.
Absolutely not, and hopefully that is only around the corner, with everything else starting to creep up on us, and you see certain things that are going to open up, certain things that are opening up. I think the golf courses are open up in a week and a half or so, and I think junior football, kids football is opening up as well on the 26th. So things are starting to trickle back. The sooner better that crowds can get back into games. And listen, most people are going to be vaccinated by the time all this comes around. So it's going to be safe. Once you have the vaccination, people are going to be safe. So, I can see it. And we will never want to speak of COVID again after all this nonsense. So we hope never have to give out or talk about it again. Nathan, a brilliant night again in football terms. More football on tomorrow night. Join us throughout the week. There's another fixture of games as well, Nathan, on Tuesday night. Big game. And then next week, we'll finish off on this one. Next week, Rovers and Bows.
Yeah, it's a fun one, isn't it? Especially we're looking at the two sides. I know, look, like you said, we have this weekend and Tuesday's games to go on, so it's hard to really preview that game and see how they're getting on. Like, Bows had a good win today, but if they lose on Tuesday, already are looking at, they're coming in like a little bit of patchy form. But if Bows win that game on Tuesday, all of a sudden it's 3 wins in the bounce. They're looking that little bit more confident, that dodgy start to the season might be behind them. So, yeah, I suppose if you're looking from a neutral, you sort of want Bows to win on Tuesday, don't you? Like, they have a difficult game against Sligo Rovers, but you'd want them to win, and you'd want them to go in and start putting pressure on when it comes to the Dublin Derby.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Okay, we're going to leave it there. Nathan, we'll talk to you during the week. Don't forget, have a look at the bigkickoff.com for all your articles. Of course, here on YouTube and our podcast, the LOI podcast as well. Have a look at that. You can see that through all our social media, or Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and every other podcast provider out there. Okay, thanks very much, and we'll talk to you soon. Freeze.
Here comes the worst part of the show.